Welcome everyone to another episode of ClancyPasta. I hope you all enjoy tonight's story. There's a wall of flesh in my neighbor's basement, written by ItsTimeLadies. Even before I found it, I hated being in Ricky Bachelor's house. My family had just moved into the neighborhood, and my mom and his apparently hit it off quickly. When she found out her son was around my age, she insisted the two of us have a play date. She promised me it'd be fun to get to know one of the neighbor kids. But the second Mrs. Bachelor and my mom stepped out to gossip, I could tell the day would be miserable. For one thing, Ricky didn't even bother trying to start a conversation with me. Instead, he sat on his couch staring down at the ground while I threw my favorite bouncy ball in between my hands. I thought it was only fair that he did the talking, since he was the host and all, but finally I couldn't stand the silence anymore and piped up. So, I muttered as I tried to think of something to say. What is it you do for fun around here? Huh? He asked as he cocked his head toward me. It was like he'd forgotten I was there. You know, fun. Do you play video games or anything? I looked over to their TV and was immensely disappointed to see that there was nothing but a cable box set up. Oh yeah, he paused for a concerning amount of time as he tried to think of something. I read, I guess. Read what? I asked. Books, he responded, before dropping eye contact with me to stare at the floor. I waited for a moment to see if he'd say anything else, but he stayed silent. I'm kind of hungry, I said, more to break the unbearable silence than anything else. Do you guys have any snacks? Kitchen's that way, he said, pointing towards a hallway without looking up at me. Take whatever. I couldn't help but roll my eyes as I stood up, though I don't think he noticed. I started bouncing my ball as I walked into the hallway, just to generate some noise. Shit, I cried out as I missed a catch and watched the ball bounce away from me. I tried to catch it, but it rolled out of my grasp and into a door that was just cracked open. I groaned. It was my favorite ball, and I didn't want to lose it. I decided I had to go into the room. I opened the door and got more upset when I saw that the door led to a staircase going down. This must have been their basement, I realized. Great. I pulled my phone from my pocket and turned the flashlight on, hoping my ball had just rolled a few steps down, but I couldn't see it. Not seeing a light switch either, I kept the flash on as I walked down the old steps. My ball wasn't on the floor by the staircase either, and I was starting to lose my nerve. The basement was pitch black, apart from the light of my phone, and furthermore, it smelled disgusting. I thought about just running back up the steps and forgetting about it, but since I'd gone this far, I figured I could at least check the floor with my light to see if I couldn't spot it. I scanned the basement floor for a few minutes without seeing anything. I was about to give up before noticing a spot of neon orange poking out behind a box by the wall furthest from the door, the same color as my ball. I sighed, grateful that something good happened today. I walked up to the crate and leaned down to pull the ball out, but paused when I noticed something weird. There was something off about the wall behind the crate. Just to make sure, I flicked the flashlight across the room, and I was sure of it. While all the other ones were white, this one was more beige, and looking closer at it, the texture seemed different as well. I touched it and drew my hand back almost immediately. The wall was warm. What the hell? I mumbled. Nervously, I stood up and backed away to get a better look at it, when light suddenly filled the room, allowing me to see it in its entirety. What are you doing down here? I heard Ricky ask from behind me. I thought you were going to the kitchen. I would have responded, but I was unable to speak as I stood frozen at the sight in front of me. The whole wall was encased in skin, thin and translucent enough that I could see veins running through it. In the light, I saw that there were even hairs and blemishes sticking out of it. In the opposite side of the crate, there was even a particularly large whitehead. "What the fuck is this?" I asked when I finally managed to snap out of my initial shock. "Hey," Ricky shouted. "You shouldn't swear. Mom says it's bad to—" "What the fuck is this, Ricky?" I screamed as I finally turned around to look at him. As terrifying a sight as the wall was, what scared me even more is that he genuinely seemed unsure of why it upset me. "What, that?" he asked, looking behind me. "It's just our flesh wall." "Your... what?" He looked down on the floor sheepishly. "You know, your flesh wall? You don't have one?" I stared at him in silence, unable to comprehend the situation. I stuttered, trying to think of something to say. "What does it do?" "What do you mean?" he asked, now seeming to get annoyed. "It doesn't do anything. You just have to clean it once in a while so it doesn't smell gross." Clean it? I turned to look at it again, and it somehow looked worse. The skin at the edges of the wall arched back like the walls and ceiling were crushing it into place. The edges, I noticed, were wider, as if from loss of blood circulation. "Yeah, clean it," Ricky replied as he started walking towards me. "Here, let me show you." He kneeled down by the crate. "This is yours, right? Here," he asked as he grabbed my ball and handed it back to me. He then opened the box up, grabbing a pair of gloves and a mask that covered his face. To my horror, I saw that he was walking toward the whitehead. "No," I stated as I realized what he was doing. "I'm actually happy you came down here. I needed to pop this. The longer you wait, the grosser they are." He put his hand on the pustule and started to press down on it. "No, no, 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 no," I cried, turning away just in time, but still hearing the wet pop as the whitehead opened. I looked back and gagged at the sight. The wall now had a large gash on it that oozed a thick, bright blood. Ricky turned to look at me, but his face was blocked by the mix of pus and blood that now covered his mask. It was too much for me. I bolted up the stairs and back into the hallway, screaming all the way. I didn't stop screaming until I got outside to my mom. "What's wrong?" she asked, immediately cutting off her conversation with Ricky's mom to be at my side. "Are you hurt?" "We have to get the fuck out of here," I shouted. She was about to say something, but I began to sob, and so she said a quick goodbye to Ricky's mom and went with me to the car. On the way home, she kept trying to ask me questions, whether or not Ricky tried to hurt me or if he said something to upset me, but I didn't say anything. I knew she wouldn't believe the truth, and I didn't want to go back into the basement to prove it to her, so I decided I'd think of something to say once we got home. Once we got into the house, we were greeted by my dad. I was about to bucket to my room when I noticed that he'd had a bunch of cleaning supplies set up. "What are you doing with all that, honey?" Mom asked as she walked into the kitchen. "Oh, I'm getting ready to clean out the attic," he replied. "Something smells awful in there." Okay. Well, thank you all so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed tonight's episode, and if you did, please subscribe for more, give this video a like, and, all that stuff. For those of you who may be wondering why I haven't uploaded in almost a week now, if not a week, I'm not entirely sure. I've been in the process of moving a pretty big move, and I am exhausted, and I'm trying to figure all of that out. But I just want to let you all know that your support and everything means so much and helps out so much. I am so lucky to be able to make these episodes and hope that you enjoy them. And huge thanks to all of the authors I work with who allow me to narrate their fantastic tales. And I really, 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 truly want 2021 to be an incredible year. In general, 2020 has been a bit rough for everybody, but specifically in the context of this channel, I want to get into a seriously steady schedule. I want to do much, much, much more for my supporters, which all of you on YouTube members and Patreon are incredible. Thank you so much for your support. I mean, without you, I wouldn't be able to do what I do. But yeah, I guess that's all I have to say. Thank you all for listening once again. Please subscribe for more. Follow me on Twitter and/or Instagram at ClancyPasta. You can go to patreon.com to support me if you'd like. I always really appreciate it. And without further ado, I hope you all have a fantastic night. Cheers.